Welcome to Woman On. I'm your host, Maxie McCoy, and you know it. This season, we are talking to the women and the people making 2020, which is, oh my God, almost over, actually somewhat inspiring. So remember, if you love what is happening in this episode, there is a worksheet that helps you apply this wisdom to your life. Just go to womanoncollective.com/worksheet. This is the final episode of our season, which I fully cannot believe. We have covered everything from activism to the election to women's sexuality and mothering. And when we asked our community, what else? What else do you care about? What else do you want us to go over? Are you craving? They basically said, that's awesome. Can you make us laugh though? Which I get because this year has been heavy and then some. So, by popular demand, get ready to laugh your little booty off because my next guest is Danielle Perez. She is a comedian, a writer, an actress, and she's a bilateral below-the-knee amputee. I first came across Danielle's brilliance in a clip of her winning a treadmill on The Price is Right. She had me rolling in all of her hysterical follow-up interviews about this wildly public gaffe on the network's part, and it has not been easy. I loved it because it has not been easy to find those laughs, to find those huge belly laughs at group dinners or the stand-up shows that I used to love going to. And Danielle's work and her life, it reminds us that there's laughter in healing, no matter the circumstances. So maybe I can spare some joy even when I feel like I shouldn't exactly be laughing right now. But this conversation with Danielle is about so much more than using humor to get through dark times. It's about believing that there's no limits to what we can create going forward, no matter our age, no matter your circumstances, no matter your background. It is about showing up and making that choice and choosing a life that allows other people to dream bigger because they're seeing what you're able to dream for yourself. Because you just never know who it is that you are inspiring. I know this conversation with Danielle is surely going to inspire you. So here's Danielle Perez on Laughing Again.
You are known as the woman in the wheelchair, and then you go on Price is Right, and you'll win a fucking treadmill.
Yep.
That clip, I have watched it so many times because your amount of grace and energy around the entire thing, around all of the press around it. But as someone who literally watched The Price is Right every day during every summer growing up, I really want to know what led you to being a contestant on The Price is Right to begin with.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that you were like a Price is Right, like super fan, like that this is part of like your, just like what has raised you, what has created you, informed you. Literally,
I'm jealous that you were a contestant and I still have never been.
Oh no. My good friend and fellow stand-up comedian, Wendy Starling, she was moving to New York. She was doing the big, coastal thing, going to the Big Apple, and she wanted to do all the LA things. And I was like,
Price is Right was def on the list.
Yeah. It's like, let's go be on TV. Why not? Let's try being an audience, Like, she's quitting her job and she's packing up all her stuff. And she's like, why not? Just hang out with a bunch of, like, elderly people who are losing their mind over toasters and exercise equipment. And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll go with you. And literally, I was just there to hang out, just there to be a friend, a pal. And they interview every single person in the audience. You just don't know what questions you're going to get asked. It's just up to him. And he's been doing this for decades. And, they kind of take you by groups, because usually, large groups come together and they all wear matching like that kind of behavior is encouraged. Like, our, spring break, we came out here to LA to be on The Price is Right. We're all from the same sorority with matching shirts, things like that. So, I was in a big group with my friend Wendy and her family from like Long Beach. Her family from Long Beach had come up. So I'm with them. I'm just hanging out. He gets to me and he's like, so where are you from? I was like, LA. He's like, LA? He's like, are you a Valley girl? And I was like, totally. And I just like kept it moving, and I was like, do. And then like, a woman with a clipboard is like taking notes of everything that everyone says. And then, they get ready to move us on to the next part of standing and waiting. And a woman comes up to me and she's like, if a Price is Right member comes up to you, just follow the person in the red jacket. And I was like, okay. And everyone's like, Danielle.
This sounds sort of cultish now.
Danielle's like, they're
follow
like,
the
Danielle.
in the red jacket.
I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. Like, but all my, Wendy and her family, they're like, oh my God, you're getting picked. And I was like, they're just being nice because I'm in a wheelchair and they don't want me to feel left out. Like, I'm like, they're just trying to be nice and cover all their bases. And
were you secretly hoping, though, that you were absolutely getting picked, or did you not want to be picked
I mean, I just didn't, I was just like, I was just hanging out. I was just there with my friend. I was taking it all in. I was fascinated by all these old people. I memean, the stories that I was listening to about like women who've like, they're like, every year I come here and every year I hope to make it on stage. And I was just like, oh my God. This is your
also,
plan.
Like,
this is it. Like, your
90.
golden years are just being in the audience of The Price is Right. But, so they keep moving you in, you get to different stages before you're finally into the audience. They take away your food, they take away your water, you know what I mean? They really drain you of like any access to the outside world. So by the time you're in like that studio and there's no windows and they're pumping Black Eyed Peas, you're just screaming for cash and prizes, And people just kept saying, just if they call your name, just follow the person in the red jacket. If they call your name, and I'm just like, okay, we got it. You guys are nice. We got it. I'm in a wheelchair and, you want to make sure everything's accessible. I was the first name called down to contestants row. I was just like, is this for real? Like I could not believe it. And the studio, it's like, kind of like a little light stadium seating. So I just basically went down like on a slope because I was in the very back of the seating because that's where the accessible seating was. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
It just like... Unreal. You were chosen. Okay. So right. Like, and this is the piece that everybody covers and talks about. And you were on Jimmy Fallon after, when you're winning the treadmill, but it cast you into the spotlight. You were so brilliantly funny on the way that you handled all of it. I know that this is, about 5 years ago at this point, but were you already doing comedy leading up to that? Like you were already very much doing this work. Can you tell me about what you were doing when that, this spotlight gets put on you through this ridiculous situation? And it was such a brilliant platform for your comedy in general.
Yeah, I'd been doing comedy for about 9 months when the episode aired. Okay. So the episode tapes in March and then, it aired in May. And so, really I'd only been doing comedy about 5 months when it taped. And I really just thought it was going to be this silly story that other comedians will think is funny because it's like, Danielle was on The Price is Right. And it blew up in this insane way that right. I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, I'm going to be on Jimmy Kimmel Live. This is incredible. And the very funny thing about that is like, I kept letting them know. I was like, I'm a stand-up comedian. They're like, that's adorable. So you want a treadmill?
You're like, no, listen to me. I am a stand-up comedian. Okay.
No, but I'm very thankful that, that they stuck to, but everything happened the way it happened, because comedy is hard. And me at 5 months, me at 8 months is very different from where I am now.
Yeah. I can, there's art just takes time and practice, whether you're a writer, a comedian, and the years go on and you're doing so many amazing things now. And also to reverse into that, you started comedy basically when you were about 30. Is that right?
I was 30 when I started. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And can you tell me how you got into it? I really want to know, what were you doing before you
Oh,
decided to take your first comedy class?
sure. Yeah, I was doing a whole lot of nothing. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was living in
Yeah,
Los Angeles, working a mindless job, doing accounts receivables for
sure,
a
sure.
water filtration parts supplier and manufacturer in Glendale. Like, very glamorous. Um, yeah, I kind of thought, I was like, maybe I just have a really boring day job that isn't hard, and I fill my life after work with cool things, you know? I was like, well, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can be like those people in the office where they just go to a really shitty day job. And my
Right.
life, though, is filled with like fun,
Yeah.
interesting, cool people who are doing things they're really passionate about and working in creative industries, like my best friend Madison, who I started stand up with,
Mhm.
she had gone to arts high school with my sister, and so she was a theater major. She'd gone to conservatory. She was doing theater in LA, like Shakespeare black box, which why you would do that in LA is also a mystery to me. But I had friends that were pursuing creative fields, but I hadn't
Mhm.
figured out what my path was. So I was just working this shitty job, and Madison's roommate was a stand up. So we just started going to his shows. And by the third one, I was like, oh, he's not funny. Like, I can do this. I'm funnier than him. Yeah. Okay, Madison, so how do we do stand up?
Oh, like literally, you go to those stand-up shows, and I've been there before, and it's like these people, they're the people who are laughing at these white guys being 25% funny is insane. And then you see it and you're like, fuck yeah, I can do that. This is like a weird question, but did you consider yourself funny before seeing and having that moment?
I mean, I think I thought I was like a funny person, but I
Yeah.
didn't think I was like, I have always enjoyed stand up. Like growing up, like I really loved Premium Blend, and I really loved like Margaret Cho and Janine Garofalo and Sarah Silverman and stuff like that. But it was never, I think a lot of it because I grew up in Los Angeles, and because, like, I went to Immaculate Heart High School in Hollywood. So it's like, Meghan Markle was 2 years ahead of me, Alana McKissick, she's an actress, also was like in Meghan Markle's class. So like my sister went to Arts High with like people who were working in entertainment at the time. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
totally.
it's like, well, there's people that really do it, and then there's people
Mhm.
that do it for fun. And I've always been interested in like acting and entertainment, but for whatever reason, I think honestly a lot of it is like just racism. I wasn't given the opportunities, even though I showed interest in terms of like casting at school, right? Like it's weird.
Yep.
It's like we're a bunch of preteens and then teenagers. Like none of this is believable in any real way. Why are we kind of still sticking to these ideas of like what the lead should look like in
Yeah.
terms of like skin color, hair color, even body type? Do you know what I mean? And so I think because at
100%.
this point, you know what I mean, like I was going to, like in middle school I graduated in 1998,
Mhm.
and in high school I graduated in 2002, and even from then there has been such a shift. I mean, there's still so much work to do, but just, you know what I mean, if we're really being honest with like what was on TV at the time, what was like, it just, I did not see myself as an Afro Latina, you know, girl, young woman with 2 feet, even then,
Yeah.
forget even disability. So
Right.
I think, I always thought I was like funny, and I like liked acting and entertaining, but it's like, oh, well, that's for serious people who, are on that path because, it makes sense for them. I
Yep.
really did not. And it's really wild now that it's like, okay, well, now I'm fat, which I certainly wasn't before, and I don't have feet, which I used to have. And
Yeah.
I have these opportunities now to act and, create and be on TV in a really visible way, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's beyond cool. But I mean, I hear you, right? It's those young formative moments where someone's either encouraging your talent or casting you aside, and to not have that encouragement, but to get to be that encouragement on the other side because you chose not to, not to take no for an answer, and you're building it now. So now that you're in this, you were taking stand-up classes, you had your bestie Madison kind of in this with you. Once you got into it, did the light bulb go off for you where you're like, okay, this is more than me filling my days with awesome things that, light me up outside of this soul-sucking job? When did it turn on that like, fuck, I could do this?
Oh, for sure. It was my first open mic. So like I hit up Madison. I was like, what do we do? I want to do stand up. How do we do it? She's like, okay, so let's take a class. So we took a class with Melinda Hill at IO West. And the first day of class, she's like, you need to go to open mics. And I'm like, okay. And she told us about the Comedy Bureau, which is this exhaustive list of just cafes and dive bars and laundromats, literally, and parks, just anywhere that they will let you plug in a microphone and give you a few hours to say whatever you want. And so we go on the Comedy Bureau and we find an open mic, and Madison's like, okay, we're going to go. Today's the day we're going to go. It was like, we got to go before our second class, because she told us you got to go to open mics. So
she's like your ultimate hype woman. Do you think would you have gotten to that night of the open mic without her?
It was just a thing of like, yeah, we're doing this.
We're in it.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? It wasn't like, she wasn't like convincing me to go to an open mic. It was like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, hey, I talk to you every day, so now this is on the schedule. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Do you know what I mean? So it was like, we go to the open mic and, we're like hanging up, and she's like, oh my gosh, we're so brave. And I'm like, why are we brave? Because we're going to watch people do comedy. She's like, no, dummy. We're brave because we're going to do it. I was like, what? And that point, that's when I was like, wait, I have nothing prepared. I did not write anything. I thought we were just going to check out the scene. And she's like, don't worry, I'll put my name above yours. And like, we were number 7 and 8, and it was Rock, Paper, and Hollywood. It does not exist anymore. It was across the street from the old Meltdown that also doesn't exist anymore, but It was a Saturday afternoon, and I held that microphone and just started talking about my life for 3 minutes, and people were laughing and paying attention to me, and I was like, I need this for the rest of my life.
What about it were you like, I need to inject this into a bloodstream? Like, what did it make you feel?
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, this is, I've never done heroin before, but I think that's what it feels like to just to feel seen and to have power. Do you know what I mean? Especially like as a woman, to be so visible and in control, Yeah. Yeah. And then like I was like, oh my gosh, we need to do that again. We got to do it again. So we go on the Comedy Bureau and we're like, ooh, there's another one that's at the Lexington in downtown LA. We get downtown LA, honey, it's on Skid Row. And we are like, we're here early though. We're here a whole hour early. We're going to be great. Numbers 24 and 25 on the list. And that was a rude awakening that, honey, everyone wants to be a star. I promptly ate shit during my set, and I was like, I can't wait to do this again. I can't wait to do this again. Yeah. I mean, it just wasn't a good
you're like,
set.
I want to get it.
But it was like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't, I mean, but that's what it is. Like, you learn how to do anything.
Yeah. You're not going to be great at it the 3rd, 5th, 20th time. Like to your point, it's a learned skill. It's there's talent, but it's also a learned skill. So, the Lexington was not great, but I was like, I can't wait to do that. I was like, I gotta go tomorrow. We gotta find another one. You really are just showing the fuck up for it and being able to make these these experiences out of your experiences that make us laugh and that make us not feel alone. And, as you're building, you've mentioned Madison and Danielle specifically, but as you're building with them, there's a lot of people who kind of like stay away from building shit with friends or building with people who are also trying to, make it somewhere because they don't want competition. But why have those shared experiences, or how have those shared experiences really helped you guys build the thing that you didn't see in the world?
I guess that perspective of kind of, I guess, like hoarding or gatekeeping or not giving access, that just is so confusing to me, because that's not like, we are stronger together, sharing resources. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
and knowledge and like, hey,
literally, that's how like communities build and grow and develop.
Like, what?
It just doesn't make sense to operate in any other way. Like, I started with my best friend, and I learned a lot from her. She's learned a lot from me. We're like, hey, like, get together, combined, we can do a lot.
Amazing.
And with stand-up specifically, when I started, it was a huge culture shock, because I was now in spaces that were very straight, white, cis, male. And that is not my usual group of friends. That's not my usual hang. Those aren't really the people I surround myself with. So just to really feel my otherness, was huge. So it's like, if there's another woman at this open mic, I want to talk to you. I want to connect with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's another, Latina comic, Latino comic, another, Black comic of color, disabled comic, like queer comic. Like, I want to know you. Where are you going? I'll go too. Here, you come with me. Because that's how we get to the next level. Totally. The thing about it is, you look at these lineups and you see maybe a woman. Oh, cool, you got a woman. Oh, maybe you got a black guy. You know what I mean? But if we are not, it's not that the gatekeeping is so explicit of like, girls out, you know what I mean? Or no, black people, we hate, we're racist, like in a very explicit, loud way. But it happens if the lineups and shows are all mostly this one type of person. How then do I connect with my peers? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm only around the guys and the guys are all just having their guy talk about, hey man, you know what I mean? It's like, where's, and it's not that I can't talk to them, but they think we're all interchangeable. I literally had this experience where me and my girlfriends, we all rolled out to like the Valley to do some weird audition showcase thing. And it was about 6 of us, women, all in a row. We put our names down on the list. They put guys in between each and every one of us. What? And it's like, you think we're going to talk about the same thing? Like, we are not. We are all completely different styles of comedy, different rhythms, different material. Like, we are not interchangeable for each other.
Right.
So, that just, but the shared resources, like for me, like online Facebook groups, for female comedians has been to have the internet and have that resource to be like, hey, if you're coming to this city, this is who you can reach out to. She loves booking women, or they love booking women. You know what I mean? My house is always open if you come through, having a safe place to crash. You know what I mean? But like, to build that network and to be able to do it digitally, across the country, across the globe, has been so, I mean, that's how we lift up, and that's how we're able to like get other people through the door. One of us gets a writing packet, it's going out to all the homies. You know what I mean? Because it's not, here's the thing. When you think that it's a competition, what you are doing is you're reinforcing this idea that they think there's only one. They think that there's only, there's only a few really good ones. And that's not true. Because when we all show up, because we all know about that opportunity and you now are inundated with all of this talent, you can't use that excuse anymore that there's, oh, we just couldn't find anyone.
Yeah, like bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like a-womaning in my head to you 9 million times over, because it's such an important reminder, whether you're, a comedian, whether you are a writer, whether you're a coach, whether you're just, you're someone in a corporate setting, like we've got to do this together and arm in arm, because that is when things actually change.
That's when it changes. Yeah, because that's when we start rising up in the ranks. We start being in positions of power where we can make real decisions. That's where it happens.
Yeah. Love what you're hearing? Well, you get to really dive in by joining the 10-week collective, where you'll be put into small groups that meet every week for the entire season, led by one of our brilliant woman-on leaders. They're so brilliant, you're going to love them. We break down the episode themes together every week. We discuss, we learn from each other. It's seriously so fun. And there's some super cozy merch that's exclusive to the collective. That's the Woman On World. We really hope that you'll join us. Now, let's get back to the convo.
On the topic of power structures and changing what we're seeing, you use your comedy and your stand-up and just your existence to be an agent of change. You were bringing really funny shit to things that I think if they happened to anyone else, they would not be finding the humor in. Is it hard for you to find that humor at first? Like, do you see the humor immediately, or does it like take some time from the hard moment, or from, the traumatic event or whatever it is, or the slight even, before you can see it as funny?
I think it just depends on what it is. You know what I mean? But I definitely, anyone that says, I don't go to therapy, I do stand-up comedy, is like, that is very toxic. Our job is to entertain, and you can entertain about dark things, but you have to be okay with it, right? Be in a place where you can speak on it and reflect on it. And so it really just depends on what it is. Like, I mean, right now we are living through a pandemic. I'm in quarantine, and stand-up comedy is not an option in the way that like I used to perform. And so the thing that I love most in the world that I would do every single night, that was my whole, my work, my social life, my creative outlet, all of that was taken away. And it was in an instant. My brain exploded, and it was a thing of like, oh, I can do virtual shows. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I crying? Not on the virtual show, but like, do you know what I mean? Of like, wait a minute, I can say no and take time to process the grief that is like the pandemic, and like what is happening, and like the collective trauma of it all. And, I'm really thankful that I'm in a situation where I'm safe, I'm secure, but is my quarantine material funny yet? I don't know. Some of it we can touch, and some of it is still we're figuring it out.
Too soon. No, yeah. I think that I feel that, and then some. So much of my work is about bringing women together in person and facilitating their stories. And I remember when I realized, like, oh, this is gone for a while. I just laid in bed on Friday at like 11 a.m. There was 9 million other things I was supposed to be doing, and just crying, like, being able to feel our way through what is happening. And then I think if you can't feel it, then you can't adapt. And you have so clearly adapt from, the podcast that you're doing to the digital shows. Have you found that adaptation to be seamless? Is it as filling? Will you do it when the pandemic's over? Like, what has comedy in the digital space felt like for you?
Sure. I for sure felt like when the pandemic first started and everything just, we're all like, we're moving online, You know, I felt like, oh great, now it's a digital's arms race to all pivot to be content creators.
Yeah.
And I had a little freak out because I have spent the past 6 years honing a craft that is performed under certain parameters, you know, being in front of a
Totally.
live audience, working with energy and people in a physical space. And
Which
there
is so different. It's like
than a
you don't just
Zoom
take it online.
virtual digital interaction. And I mean, it's possible, and there are some really great people that are doing an awesome job. Like, I think Comedy Quarantine is doing a great job, and Nowhere Comedy Club, they figured out a really fun way to do it. But it was like, well, I'm not a sketch comedian. Like, I do stand up. I'm not a sketch comic in like that kind of character, put on a wig,
Yeah.
do a front facing camera. Like, that's just,
So this wig is everything.
thank you. I do love the wig, wigs for fun, wigs when it's for fun, for your own pleasure. But that is, a very specific kind of style of entertainment. And there are amazing people that are so funny at that, like Benny Drama, right? Meg Stalter, like, they are killing it, but that's what they do. You know what I mean? And it's like, I felt this pressure of like, well, I have to. But I realized, and this was like it was like, whoa, a light bulb went off of like, wait a minute. The whole 6 years I've been doing stand up, I have been racing to meet the standards of an industry, right? To just be seen by the gatekeepers. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm doing all the things that you need me to do and want me to do. I'm getting I'm doing the festivals, and I'm doing this showcase, and I'm booked on this show. And please notice me, please. And it's like, we're in a fucking pandemic. You know what? How about I do whatever the fuck I want to do? How about that? How about, no, I don't. What's going to make me happy? What's going to make me feel creatively fulfilled? What's going to get me through the day? Because we don't know how long we're going to be in this. We still don't know. I mean, there's glimmers of hope, but, it's, who would have, 1 week we were out and about making plans, and the next week everything changed. And now the empowerment I feel of like, well, what do I want to do? And it's like, well, I really do want to act. Yeah. And I don't want to, when I go out for an audition, be all freaked out because I don't know, because I'm not an actor. So I started taking virtual acting classes, working with a coach, online, digitally. And it's like, I can do that. I can control that. Mm-hmm. And this quarantine, I've shot I like literally just shot my 4th project. In quarantine. Wow. All of those except for one I booked in quarantine through self-tapes. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, acting makes me happy. Acting brings me joy. Frankly, I was still working at the breakneck speed I was with stand-up, I would not be where I am with acting because I wouldn't have the time. I'd keep saying, well, I just don't have the time and I can't give up my nights to, I have to do stand up. And it's the same with writing. You know what I mean? It's like, I have a project in development, and I wouldn't be able to sit down and focus on that and get that done if I didn't have this pause, this break, this need to pivot.
Yeah. It is the really, it's the bright side of the kind of unfortunate shadow, which is that space, provided we want to fill it with something else, that you can find that pivot that you're talking about around creativity. And as you're talking about writing, with your writing, where do you place writing in comedy? Like, I know you have to do so much writing in order to do a stand-up set, but then where is writing taking you now? Where do you find yourself like, ooh, I really want to write that thing, or, where you're pushing that writing to?
Yeah. I mean, I'm focused on just writing my show, the show that's going to be me, that's going to have me on screen, getting to do all the things I want to do. like acting, it's just so wild. Like, you know, everything is learning lessons.
Yeah.
And I love acting and it's amazing, but your job as an actor is to make the words on the page work. It's not to have opinions. It's not to, you know what I mean? It's to show up and create.
That would be very hard for me.
But it's to show up and to fulfill the creative ideas of the creator and the writer and the director. And, you know, you're a hired gun as an actor. And I am a Afro-Latina who's fat, who uses a wheelchair. A lot of the auditions I get are for sad fat, you know, Black best friend, you know, Latina single mom or housekeeper, or this one is always just like, truly, it's a, you know, a former, you know, pilot, you know, Air Force officer who's now a paraplegic or quadriplegic, which is also the wrong kind of disabled that I am also. So it's like, but you know what I mean? It's like,
you're like,
I don't want to, I don't, you know, and I mean, not
you're
that
the fucking star.
There's different, you know, a job's a job, and I get paid, but I want to tell fun and cool stories that are personal to me from my wild life. And I think that would be good TV and good movies. So, you know, it's something that, you know, every woman in entertainment will tell you this. Like, you have to write what you want to make. No one is going to write anything just for you, especially, you know, if you're, you know, a minority within a minority within a minority. But to really be on set and kind of experience the hired gunness, it's like, girl, just enough. Like, do it. Put pen to paper, write it, do it, make it,
and you're doing all of those things and then some. When you think about the fact that have you finished writing the show? Is it done? Like, where in the process are you?
No, still like doing the series Bible.
Cool.
But the thing is, like, also too, like, I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. And you see, like, what gets made. like now, because, you know, I'm writing and I'm watching a lot more television, and even, you know, with my friends, it's like we all kind of like swap our pilots and our outlines and just, you know, to get notes and feedback. All the girls were all here for each other. All the homies are here for each other. So, like, in doing that, it's like I'm more aware of what is on TV and what gets made, and you're like, the fear starts to go away because you see, like, I mean, not all of it is good. Not all of it is good. There is, I think, this huge myth that, like, only the greatest, only the best scripts, only the best pilots get made, only the best show. And that's just not true, because then there would be no canceled shows. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look, like, but there's, I think, like, this thing where it's like only the very, very tippity the 1% of the 1% of writers are gonna, and it's like, you know what it is? It's people who are bold enough and brave enough to just do it and believe in themselves and keep at it.
Yes. When you talk about imposter syndrome, though, which is something that I think no matter what we are doing, when we try something new, it shows up. And, you know, I've even found I've wanted to write fiction for a really long time. And it wasn't until actually I went to a comedy festival to support a friend in Boston.
And did you go to Boston Women in Comedy Festival?
I did. And I have the hat and the shirt and the, like, the zip up. Yeah, her film was being showcased. It was so fun to be around, even though, you know, I'm not doing anything in the world of comedy. It just, there were so many pieces of alignment. And I sat through a writing workshop with her and I was like, oh, fuck, all of this could apply to writing fiction. And then, you know, I did a little bit of research, and then I started understanding where other people's books had started. And I think that's something that happens is we only see finished products.
Yeah.
we don't see the shit that it started at. And
Yeah.
that for me really helped me get over that. Like, I'm not a fiction writer. I can't do this. Like, I can't even ask my agent about this. What helps you get over that hump of feeling that way?
Oh man. Ooh, the process. I think honestly, I'm terrible. If I'm really stuck and I just need, number one, to just make it not be a blank page. And I can't just do Z, 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 X, Y. That will not help. I need actual cohesive sentences.
Yep.
I'll write roast jokes about people I know.
Wait,
so that I can,
awesome.
It's like I'm working the brain. I am thinking about jokes.
A little bit of a burn book here.
And it's like, we can save these for a rainy day. And no one ever has to see these, maybe, but maybe not. But that it helps me not be so scared.
Yeah.
To just trust my gut, trust my instincts. Because that's the thing, is you can always delete, you can always edit. And I'm realizing the sooner I just write something down and trust my first instincts and can close it, the sooner I can give myself a break to come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes. Because the trap that I fall into, and I think is the most dangerous one, you're just spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes, now it's an hour, and you've typed and deleted and typed the same freaking chunk for this whole time,
Yep. You're calling me out. Like, I have like no delete days where I'm like, you can reread it.
You just can't do it. Yeah.
You just can't do it. You're not allowed to. That is such a good idea. And also I hope that one day you randomly publish your like roast notes, like imposter syndrome roast notes. Here they are. Oh God, it's really good. It's just true. I mean, we all have to find the ways that get us over that hump. And, something that you mentioned both for your own creative work, but also the women around you, is how many things all of you are working on. And I know that is true for creative people, but I secretly deep down believe that we're all creatives. Like, we are humans, we are creations, we're here to create. It doesn't always have to be like art or creative work. But to have your hands on a lot of different things is really fulfilling. I'm definitely asking this question from a personal place, which is, how do you, what is your process for doing all of the different types of creative works that are different, like writing a show versus writing your next set versus, acting? Like, do you carve time out? Do you have just like follow your feelings? What are the ways that you're handling all of the things? The podcast, like, you're doing so much.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, you're big up in me. No. I'm like, I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
No, I think, and this is what I've like been learning this year, such a growth period, 2020.
No one tells you it hurts like hell.
It's really just like, what is for you will always be for you. That idea of like, stop trying to fit the square peg in the round hole. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not going to spend all my time trying to write stand up. Like, for me right now to be like, I really need to get on late night. I need to get 5 minutes on late night. Like, that would be ludicrous if I just spent all my time spinning my wheels trying to figure that out. It's like, where can I best spend my time right now? And like, right now, acting, right now, writing, and then we'll just see where things go. But I think a huge part of that is like learning to say no. And learning to say what is a priority to me. Because as creatives, especially when you start out, your instinct, you're told, to just say yes to everything. Yes. Every opportunity is a good opportunity. You never know kind of thing. And, thankfully I'm in a place where I can be a little more selective, Yeah. And that's a good thing. That's a blessing. But there is a lot of power in no. And to really like hear that and internalize that. And it's like, well, what do you want? what are your big goals? You know what I mean? What do you want to do in 5 years? What do you want to do in a year? And so what's it going to take to get there? And does this serve that?
What do you say no to? Or what have you said no to recently?
Oh my God.
You don't have to name names, but like,
I know, I'm like, I feel terrible. I say no to things where I will be tokenized.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So whether that be an interview request or a piece or exposure, no,
How about not?
I'm good. People die of exposure. So, yeah, we can leave it at that.
There's a lot of that. There's been a lot of that this year, and it's
people, and I get that, you know, people make the choices that are best for them, and, you know, I can only speak for myself.
Totally.
But I think it's just important to have like boundaries and integrity in what you do, so that moving forward, you never have to be tied to things that you ultimately don't agree with or support or aren't you. Yeah. If you're always you from the start, I love Cardi B. She's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, but she's always been Cardi. She's always been the same person. Yeah. And she gets the freedom to do and say whatever she wants because she's always been doing and saying whatever she wants. And I think, you know, especially starting in LA where, you know, all the industry's here and, you know, agents and managers and you might be seen, and like there's this fear to don't make a lot of noise, keep your head down, just do what everyone else is doing, get in line, wait your turn, and
pay your dues.
You know, now pay your dues. And, you know, before lockdown, you know, I started being a little more vocal, like, well, I'm not going to crawl upstairs. You're going to need to get a ramp. You know what I mean? Like, well, the bathroom isn't accessible. You pick and choose your battles, but yeah. I am thankful that I have just built up the confidence and built up the track record in terms of just like what I have to offer, you know, my comedy, my acting, my writing, you know, those credits, they speak for themselves. So that it's unfortunate and annoying that it kind of takes kind of getting to a certain place where you feel safe asking for basic access.
Like basic.
But it's, you know, I can do that now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad about that.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that, you know, if you're willing to, you know, pull the curtain back to those moments where someone does ask you to do something insane, like climb up on or crawl on stage, and because the venue is not accessible. And I know that you just said you pick and choose your battles, but I think there's women who, while they don't have your disability, they might be tokenized or they might be put in a harmful situation and wondering if they can use their voice or not, or if they should use their voice or not. Where are you making those decisions about, you know, do you always flag it, call them out, like go really hard in the paint on the fact that this is fucking wrong? Do sometimes you not? Like, how do you choose those battles, and what do those battles look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially with disability, any kind of disability, chronic illness, invisible disability, always do what is safe for you. Like your safety is paramount, that your safety should never be compromised. And so if that it means disclosing your disability, choosing to disclose it or not to disclose it, if that means requesting access, you know, always do what is safe for you. But for me, no one's explicitly said you have to crawl up the stairs to this venue if you want to perform here. But if the deal is your venue doesn't have a ramp or an elevator and you will not allow your staff to help me up the stairs, right, or carry me or touch me or my wheelchair, that means I need to figure out a way to do it if I want to perform there. if a venue is like, yeah, we just don't have a ramp. No, yeah, sorry. There's no way for me to get on stage, and there's no one like I know, or that, usually I get like two burly people, strong, people. Okay, you guys got me. We'll go and we'll do that. And sometimes it's just not possible. The stage is too high. Like, I can assess that it's going to be a very dangerous situation. I will get out of my wheelchair, crawl onto stage, pick up my wheelchair, drag it onto stage, get up in front of the whole audience so that they can see that. Because here's the thing, and it's annoying, but disabled people asking for access isn't going to get disabled people more access unless non-disabled people demand access too.
Yeah.
Because when disabled people request access, oh, well, they always complain, and we just don't want to get sued, so better just say it's an old building, and our policy, or you know what I mean? It's like, no. Yeah. When someone non-disabled is like, hey, your bathroom's inaccessible and you don't have a ramp, it's like, oh, we don't? It's, oh, well, I guess we should do that, huh? Yeah. It's just it's a very different reaction, and it's, but I mean, I have a joke that, about, it's not even about accessibility, it's about like me, it's a DUI joke and story, but
we're here for it.
But usually I have a tag for it that if the building's bathroom is not accessible, I will reference that, and it makes sense in the joke, and it hits pretty hard because it's like, well.
I mean, it's just like the way that you continue to just shed light on bullshit via humor, and being willing to do what you did to get on the stage and then make the joke. It's, it's something that, even as you're talking, it's like, yeah, I can do that. I can take 2 seconds to look around at my local comedy show when I go back, make sure it's accessible, and make that fucking phone call or that email. And it makes a difference. And it's something that everybody listening can do. And it makes a big impact for, just the change that we need, and the change that you are, putting yourself front and center in front of, which we appreciate. And you, like, the chapters of your life, I can't wait to see where all of this goes. But also knowing where, the many things that you've gone through and where you have come from. I want to pull up some photos with you. Because we have so much fun doing this with guests, because would assume you probably, did you ever guess that you would be here where you are right now?
No.
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams, truly.
Yeah. It's, it is, I don't think anyone ever realizes how much, and even just in your story, it's like, it's been 5-ish years. Like you've done so much by taking on something new and continuing to grow into it. And 5 years is a long time, and it's been a shit ton of hard work, I'm sure, but also it's not that long. Like, a lot can change, and dreams can come true pretty quickly. Okay. So I'm going to pull up these photos, Danielle. Right now they're on my, curly bang album because I'm getting inspired. So let me find yours.
Cute. We love a curly bang.
Don't we love a curly bang? Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to describe this photo for me.
Okay. It's little baby Danielle, not baby Danielle, like 8-year-old Danielle. And she has a little kind of half up pony with the little bolitas. And
what were those little things?
I don't know. We always called them bolitas. I don't know. I have no idea. But they're, the big plastic balls that you like. It's on an elastic band, and there's like a big ball on either end, and they wrap into each other. But I got that, and a little like, a little high pony, but then like the rest of my hair is down and short. I got huge glasses, plastic, pink, purple, just a real child of the early 90s. And,
what would you tell this Danielle?
It's my little school pic. I'm 8 years old. Oh my gosh. I had I'm like miserable in that photo. I had gone from Montessori school, which was like free to be you and me, to this Catholic elementary and middle school that was just not fun. Like I was picked on, I was made fun of, I was called a nerd and a loser. It's like, because I like to read. You know, I mean, it's very basic and not the most tragic tale in the world, but I was really sad. Like in therapy and in reflection, it's like I was really depressed and sad, but it got better.
It got better. Yeah, and it gets better. And she had killer glasses.
I know.
And I'm here for them
now.
Can you tell me about this photo?
Oh my God.
Describe this one for everybody listening.
Okay. It is a selfie. I am in a overly lit McDonald's. That is fluorescent lighting for you.
Oh.
And I'm holding up like a little unicorn plastic Happy Meal toy. I am tired. It's not a terrible selfie, but I am tired.
What was going on in your life at this moment? And what would you tell her?
I was dating my first serious boyfriend, and they were not a good match or fit for me. And I didn't know that I could do better, and not in a better that I am better than them, but I didn't know that I could be with someone who just liked me for me and didn't need me to change. And not that compromise isn't a good thing, but there's a difference between, again, we're trying to fit that square peg in a round hole.
Right.
Versus like, oh, you know what? These puzzle pieces have they left a little kind of tag thing on. We just have to shave that off a little.
Yeah. There is so much to figure out. When you kind of look back, you're like, whoa, there was a lot more than I realized. What do you find that you're trying to figure out now? Where does a lot of your focus go, outside of work, inside of it, wherever, that you're like, yeah, this is the thing kind of drawing me forward?
I want to, I don't know if, I guess this is like part of it is like with mental health, right? Like I have depression. I know I've learned in the pandemic that I have anxiety. Not just like, oh, I get nervous because of crazy career, but like a real deep generational anxiety. That is, does it get better, but am I just going to be managing this forever?
Yeah.
Or does it one day kind of just like go away? Like, do you ever get to a place with therapy and medications where you're just like, I guess I'm good now? I don't know.
We don't know. I think that this year, and because we've heard this a lot in our community, I've heard it amongst my own girlfriends, my own experiences, it's, you don't know. And also trying to assess it in 2020, I'm like, I'm just going to not ask myself those questions during this particular year, because we haven't seen this in generations. Like it's such a, it's hard.
It's hard. But it's also, with that, it's like, well, all the distractions are gone. I mean, yes, we're busy and we're figuring out how to work in all of this, but it's a lot of alone time, a lot of being faced with yourself in the mirror.
Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, you're okay. I see you. You're okay.
Just a lot of raw dogging yourself in the mirror. And it's like, I don't know if I want to be that up close and personal with me all the time.
It is. There's like such an extreme amount of alone time that on one hand, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, oh, this is one time it's good. Like I'll figure out my monsters, like I'll deal. And now I'm like, no, like we're just like not supposed to be alone this much. I think I'm now creating monsters that like never needed to be there.
Oh, no.
And you know, it's just like, I fucking miss my friends, and the text messages kind of feel like they only get me so far, which I want to ask you, because text messages, Pep Text, we like to ask our guests, like, what was the most recent text that just kind of, even though it's not as good as the hug with Madison pre-pandemic days, and maybe probably still today, because like I feel like she's probably like household for you. But you know, what is the message that you've got recently that was like, okay, this makes me feel like better? Can you read it to us? Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is one, because like I'm in a few group texts.
You and no one
like
else.
One literally is like, we're all just constantly being like, you got this, I support you, yes girl, you manifested it, we're all we're like, new moon tonight, light your candles girl, like
get Oprah lit.
And so so that, shout out to that whole group text. Insecurity, you know who you are.
How do we apply?
But I reached out to a friend, and I was just really, I'll read it. So I texted my friend. I pulled a card to meditate on while falling asleep last night because I was really anxious and accidentally got 2. And then I sent her a screen cap of the 2 that I got, which was the 2 of Swords and the 4 of Discs. And this is a tarot set that she had, like she had given me a pep talk a while ago, and just like really like encouraging me to like create a real practice of like, well, what do you do in the morning? I was like, I don't know, I just like start and freak out about what I probably didn't do yesterday. And she's like, okay, stop doing that.
Don't do that.
Drink water, stretch. You can pull, like, she's like, I like to pull a card, kind of meditate on it throughout the day, have it, feel it, and so, but just like, again, with the boundaries, you know what I mean? Like saying no, it's like, hey, I need this time so that I can just get myself together and be okay, so that I can do the things that I need to get done.
Yeah. And
I texted her, I was like, thank you for being a friend.
Oh, I love that this is the text that you sent, because how much does it make you, it lights you up when you're able to provide a little bit of love to somebody else also. And, I think that's something that is in our control, which is to, take 2 seconds and reach out. And I think that's something that I have been thinking about often. And you've reminded me of it here, which is that sometimes like, we do need to reach out for the thing that we need, even though it can feel hard. But, give me that tarot card. Give me both of them. I remember one time a girlfriend pulled one for me, and it was like a black egg. And I was like, fuck, that cannot be good. There is no way that is good. So, okay, here's the last thing that we need to know, Danielle, which is, who is, and I feel like it's going to be the whole insecurity group text, who is a woman on the rise that the Woman On community needs to keep on their radar?
You need to keep Madison Shepherd on your radar. She is my bestie. We host Wow Rude podcast together. She is so funny. No one makes me laugh harder than her. She's, you know what I mean? She's the woman behind the woman. I'm the woman behind that woman. Like,
so good.
If you fuck with me, you fuck with Madison. So you're on notice.
You're fucking with the whole thing. Oh God. You and Madison are so funny on that podcast. So we'll drop that in the show notes and make all of the peeps listen. Danielle, thank you so much for being here. We are super batshit grateful for you. What are you batshit grateful for today?
Man, I'm grateful for this conversation. This was just like a good time, you know? When you hang out with like another woman who like gets it, We try.
Yeah. I feel like the good time was all mine, but I'm so glad that you think so. All right, Danielle, thank you.
Thank you.
if you're anything like me, you love listening to inspiring stories, but then there always is this little letdown at the end of a show because it's sort of like, well, now what? How do I put anything into action that I've just heard? Well, at Woman On, we're here to solve that. Each episode comes with a free worksheet that you can download to get dirty with all the wisdom and put it in your own life. Just go to womanoncollective.com/worksheet.